Well, hello everybody, and welcome to LA Dodger Report, where we talk today about Kenley Jansen and his response to some pretty direct questions from the LA Times. Now, I've been speaking a bit about Kenley Jansen's consistent troubles and about how he's had us sweating almost all of his appearances this season. And it hasn't only been this season, as longtime Dodger fans know. But the big beat reporters, like Dylan Hernandez for the LA Times, will sometimes stay away from controversial questions to the players because, let's face it, they want and need that access. And if they anger players, then, they can possibly turn them against them as to where they won't talk to them anymore. So often, the reporters who are closest to the athletes, they often shy away from the questions that many of us here on the periphery are wondering. And Dylan Hernandez asked some of these questions that many of us fans and other assorted levels of writers and commentators were wishing someone would ask. So here we go. I want to give Mr. Hernandez his due and Kenley his due, and so I'm going to go to my phone notes so that I can get as close to the quotes as possible. So Dylan Hernandez, he asked Kenley, he asked him, what do you think about the possibility of the Dodgers picking up Craig Kimbrel? He's a closer that's been out there, free agent. The Twitters and the online commentators and bloggers have long questioned about this. And so here's the question to Jansen. And what did he say? He said, why not? We want to win a championship, right? Honest and straightforward. And that's certainly something that any of us might expect in an answer, right? Okay, so coming up next, what happens? Hernandez asked, if he feels any danger of losing his status as a closer. What? Okay, a straightforward question. Does he feel any heat about losing his position as a closer? What did Jansen say? That's what I get paid for. I get paid for closing ball games. Well, you interpret that one. He didn't say he feels any heat, but I seriously think that Kenley goes home and thinks about it. He wouldn't be human if he didn't, right? So they asked Kenley about how would he feel about a change in position, a change in role in the bullpen, possibly losing that status. How would he feel about it if it happened? Why should I have to do anything different? That's my question. It doesn't make any sense. And so Kenley's come to the conclusion that if somebody else like Kimbrel should come on to the Dodgers, hey, Jansen's standing his ground, and he's saying, why should I have to change my role? If they bring in Joe Blow, bring him in for a different role, but not mine. Interesting answer. All right, so finally, we have Jansen was asked about, hey, what about all the runs that you give up? What about the home runs? If you remember, in my last video, I talked about Kenley in the State of the Dodgers video, and I mentioned he gave up a grand slam to lose the final game against the Padres and lose the sweep and lose the hard work and the momentum that his team put in just to come back from behind. It's not like the Dodgers were winning that game all the way through and dominating. No, they had to come back. They had to fight to take the lead, and they did, and Kenley gave it up with a grand slam. So they asked him, what about all those home runs? And Kenley said, that's being a reliever. You throw 1 inning. If I'm a starter, I can throw 4 more innings and get that thing down. All right, so Kenley says, hey, that's such as the life of a reliever. You know, you give up 1 home run, and sometimes that's the ball game, and it's all on you. And he's true and right about that. You know, I don't know how I feel about where he throws in, you know, I can throw 4 more innings and get that thing down. Is it a dig at starters because they can dig a hole and then have time to get themselves out? He's probably just being realistic. I don't think he's being bitter about it. But it's, you know, it's in the print. So I have no idea what his tone of voice was, and I really not sure what he meant by that 100%. But I'm pretty sure he's just pointing out starters have a lot longer rope than relievers do. All right. So in conclusion, I've often rapped Kenley about not being the elite closer that he's still riding high on, riding that reputation of being the most elite closer, one of the top ones in the game. 2 out of 3 isn't bad, and 2 out of 3 shouldn't be laughed at. That does make you pretty darn good. And so I guess sometimes I'm a little hard on him. But I like to see, I like to see the sweeps. And I hate to see Kenley give up home runs in close games that we just got to win. Because I'll tell you this, there's going to be occasion in the playoffs, there's going to be occasion in the World Series where a guy that's expected to be a closer is and will be expected to come in. And 2 out of 3 games isn't going to be enough, really, especially when the sweep in a 7-game series, those 3 games, if you could possibly sweep them or take 3 in a row, regardless, however it goes, 2 out of 3 isn't that good in the playoffs if you end up losing in 7, losing in 6, because you only won 2 out of 3. When the 3rd game is in your hands, you got to get it done. And that's my point about Kenley. When that game is in your hands, you get paid to get it done. And when you don't get it done, I'm going to keep it real, and I'm going to call out on it and say, you know, you're expected to do that. That's the job. That's the millions that they give you. So, Kenley, though, I see from your answers here that one thing that we learned about Kenley is that he's very human, and he's honest, and he's straightforward with his thinking. So if anything, he didn't dodge and he didn't give cliches. So give credit where it's due to Kenley to being honest in that interview. Give credit where it's due to Dylan Hernandez for pitching the tough questions. As always, for LA Dodger Report, peace.